Hey everyone, it's Miss Vidoli, and what we're going to do today is we're going to do a little optical art project. And so what you're going to need for this project is a piece of paper, so something to draw on, something to draw with. So you could use a pencil is what I would recommend, but if you don't have a pencil, you could use crayon, marker, pen, whatever you have. And then after we use those materials, the last thing you might need is something to add color with. It could be crayon, marker, colored pencil, something along those lines. All right, and in case you haven't noticed, this is my little co-pilot here, Miss Stanley, and so let's get started. Okay, so what I'm going to begin with is I am going to use pencil, and I'm just going to use a rectangular piece of paper. And what we're going to do is we're going to make some lines going from the top of the paper down to the bottom of the paper. You can see the top of my paper is the long side, and the right and left are the shorter sides. So the long sides on the top and bottom, shorter sides on the left and right. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make some loose wavy lines that are just going to go from the top of the page down to the bottom. I always like to start in the middle, so I'm just going to do that. Make my first wave and repeat. They don't have to be the same wave. You want them to be a little different. Do that on one side and then do that on the other. So I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. So 5 lines should be about good, but if you have a large spot, you can always feel free to add an extra one. The next step that we're going to do is we are going to make some bumps. And what's going to happen is the bumps are just going to be curves, and it's going to connect from one line to the next line. So let's start in the middle, and we're going to have these bump up. And all you're going to do is start on one side and on the other side. So here are my 2 guidelines. And I'm going to bump up and down. Then I go down just a little bit, bump up and down, up and down, repeating this. Notice they get more stretched out if my lines are further away from each other. And you're going to do that all the way down. Okay, once you're done with that one, you're going to skip one of these lines and go over to the next one, and you're going to repeat the same thing. Since this one's on the edge of the paper, I just use the edge of my paper as my other side. Okay. Then I'm going to go back to my middle one, skip one in the middle, and then do this one. Stanny, my dear, you're going to need to move back just a little bit. Okay, now that we have done the bumps in every other one, what we're going to do is we're going to do the ones that we left blank. But what's going to switch is instead of the bump curving upward, our bumps are now going to curve down. So that's going to look like this. The curve of our line bumps down. And all you're going to do is repeat that all the way through for all of these blank ones. Okay, and we got 2 more boxes to go. And one more. All right, now that I have these, what I'm going to do is I am going to take some colored pencils or crayons or whatever you have to add color, and I am just going to color them in. You can use whatever colors you want. One thing I like to do is I like to add 2 or 3 colors to each one of these, and like maybe do the cool colors like purples, greens, and blues down one, and then down the next one next to it I would do maybe the warm colors, reds and oranges and yellows, and then on the following one I'd go back to the cool colors, so it would be cool colors, warm colors, cool colors, warm colors, cool colors, warm colors. That's just one idea. You can really play around with it and see what you have. I am using colored pencils today. Feel free to use whatever you have available to you. You can even do this if you only have pencil. You can do this with just regular pencil or with black and white. Another thing you can do is just to give it a little bit more of a little punch of making it more of an optical illusion is you fill this all in lightly, and then on the edges you press down harder. Now if you're using marker you won't really be able to do this, but you just do that right on the edges on the 2 sides there. You can press down a little harder and it makes it look like it's curving back just a little more. And you would do that for each and every little one of these. Okay, so once you have finished everything, it's going to look something along these lines. You can email that to me, but I just want to point out a couple things. So this project does take a little bit of time. So if your hands get tired from coloring each of these lines, then just take a break. It's something that you can come back to at any time. The other thing I want to point out is, why is this an optical illusion? Why is there a trick of the eye? And what happens is we're getting these wavy bumpy lines, and instead of them being straight and looking like they're all flat, we've added the curves that either bump down or the curves that bump up, and we've also added some shadow. And the shadow and the highlight, so the shadow is the darker areas where we press down a little harder on the edges, and then the highlight is the lighter area, which is in the middle of each piece. What those do is those give the effect of something bumping out and coming out towards you in space, as opposed to being flat. So the trick is that this picture is not actually bumping and curving out over your paper. It is actually just a flat picture. So the bumpy curvy lines help that, as well as those shadows. So go ahead and email me a picture of your work. I look forward to seeing it.